It's beer o'clock on Real Ale Craft Beer. I'm going to start this beer review by saying thank you to all of the knowledge given to me by my great friend Martyn Cornell. Martyn Cornell, I understand, has recently passed away, and it's a shock. It's a massive shock to everybody in the beer industry, because the beer industry has lost an absolute cog, a legend of a man. I understand he's just finished writing as well a book on porters and stouts. So it brings me to this. It brings me to open this Hara's Irish Stout Nitro. I've pulled it out the fridge. I know it's an Irish Stout. Martyn Cornell was from London, and he's more a porter man. I'm gonna say he loved his London porters. The beer was kindly sent to us from beersofeurope.co.uk. There's a link in the description box if you want to visit beersofeurope.co.uk. But I'm going to concentrate this review on, and I'm doing rather well actually, my friendship. I'm doing rather well, not to kind of like, I might do later on. I might do at any point. Well up. But I don't think Martyn would have wanted that. I don't think Martyn would have wanted me standing in this kitchen and conservatory, welling up and sobbing and being upset about his wonderful life. Martyn was a really good friend. Martyn was a really good friend, although I haven't seen him for a few years. The beer industry has a habit of sticking you together for a few days, up to a week sometimes, and then you all go your separate ways, and then you might not see anybody for a year or two. It's just how the beer industry is. I'm pretty sure if I bumped into Johnny Garrett at the Great British Beer Festival, the first thing we do is handshake and smile and hug and how are you? How are you? And just how it is. I've used Johnny Garrett as a kind of just an example of I will see Johnny in the future and I will give him a hug and shake his hand. And my point here is, I first met the wonderful Martyn Cornell in Poland. It was always, I don't think I ever met, maybe at a Guild of Beer Writers dinner at Christmas time, or a Guild of Beer Writers event, maybe up in Leeds in 2012. But I always met Martyn Cornell abroad. I always met him in Poland at the Wrocław International Good Beer Festival. I always met Martyn. I spent a week with Martyn Cornell in Catalonia, in Barcelona, in Spain, in something like, it was either 2017 or 2018. And we had a wonderful week. We really did. We really did. But it was Martyn's knowledge. It was Martyn's knowledge of beer that really set him apart. And it was the way he told the story. Martyn Cornell would tell a story, and you'd have a beer in your hand when you're telling these stories, and you would just listen. You would just listen to these wonderful historical stories on beer. He once told me a story about the Great London Beer Flood. That was a tremendous story. But it was the smiles as well. He was always a smiley character, and he was always a joke teller, and he was always fun loving. He was really fun loving. Let me take a sip of the beer and I'll tell you I'll tell you one particular story that I really remember and will stick with me forever with Martyn Cornell. Blimey, it's a dull day today. I'm sure Martyn would love this stout. Look at this stout. Jet black in the glass. A nitro stout. Great lace in. Look at the beer as I rock it back and forth. Look at that beer. Look at that wonderful carbonation. Tight carbonation because it's a nitro beer. But it's wonderful and creamy and rich and delicious. Stout-like. Loads of roasted malt in there. A lovely bitter finish. The beer is 4.3% ABV, craft brewed in Ireland. I've got a few stories with Martyn, so I mean, bear with me with this, but I'm going to tell you the best story first. I'm not going to leave you hanging around. I'm not going to leave you waiting. The Barcelona Beer Festival, organised for a load of bloggers from around the world to go to Barcelona and spend a week in Barcelona. It was sponsored by the Barcelona Tourist Board. So it was all pre-arranged, all the hotels were pre-arranged, the flights were pre-arranged. The minibuses we had a driver for a week. We had two wonderful ladies as well. I can't remember the names. I do apologise, but if they ever watch this, hello. Hello to Joanne as well. If you might watch this, Joanne was one of the organisers that invited me to the wonderful Barcelona Beer Festival. But there was one particular day. We'd spent 3 or 4 days travelling around breweries, eating food, taking in Barcelona's culture. But it was one afternoon. It was the last but one day. We were taken to a winery, and it was like a let your hair down moment. There was people from the UK, bloggers from the UK, myself, Pete Brown, Martyn Cornell. There was a couple of boys from Ireland. There was the wonderful beer, the writer who writes for the Brewers Association, not the Brewers, the Brewers magazine in the UK. Can't remember the name of it now. We spent a week with him. But it was always like me and Martyn on the bus. When we went round to these breweries, and when we ever went any to restaurants, it was always we'd sit at the front of the bus and we'd talk and we'd talk and we'd talk and we'd talk. But anyway, we got to this last but one day. We'd spent 4 or 5 days travelling around breweries, and it was all serious, and we're blogging, and the organisers decided to take us to a winery. And you could tell straight away, nobody admitted it, but it was a let your hair down moment. Nobody got their notepads out. I didn't do any filming. There was nothing really to, it was like a free hit at a winery. So anyway, we get to this winery, and because we've been drinking beer all week, me and Martyn, I remember, because we were drinking the wine like it was beer. We were drinking it in great volume very quickly. And the owner of the winery had this little dog. And he come out with this platter of food, this great big platter of food, sausages, and the dog was jumping up, and I got a little dog here, and he loves to be fed. They want human food, we call it human food. They want sausages and bacon and chicken, don't they? So anyway, all these little bits of salami come on. I start feeding this dog salami. And the guy at the wine, he was like, "Oh, please don't feed the dog. Please don't feed the dog." And yeah, the dog was desperate for this stuff. So every time this guy faced away from me and he pointed out to his vineyards or something out the window and was pointed, I was feeding the dog, giving him loads of this salami and stuff. And I'd make sure as he went to turn, I stood in for the dog so the dog could finish his bit of salami and whatever. And I thought nothing of it. And this went on for about 20 minutes. I kept on feeding the dog, and the dog was wagging his tail, and he was loving it. And anyway, drinking wine. So I needed to go to the toilet. So I went off to the toilet. I'm at the urinal having a wee, and I go to wash my hands, and Pete Brown comes bursting through the door, and he's crying in hysterics, laughing his head off. And he said, "Simon, you bastard." He said, the dog's collapsed. The dog's collapsed, and the owner's going nuts out there, and he's wondering, and I'm like, "Oh no," but we're both. Sorry to drop you in, Pete, but drop you in here, but oh well. You can tell me off later for revealing our secrets. But we went back out, and the dog was fine. He was back up on his feet, and the dog was fine. He was alright. But it was I had him. I like to make people laugh. It's who I am. I like to pay at the poor dog's expense, unfortunately. But anyway, this gentleman who had the winery, when we first went there, we were greeted by him and his wife, and she was very nice, but she seemed a little bit like she'd been at the vino quite early. Anyway, we carry on drinking this wine now like it's beer, ballooning this wine down. And Martyn's drinking this wine, same as me, like it's beer. And we go down to the minibus to leave. We go down to the car park. And I just want to say to the winery, we had a fantastic experience. If you watch this as well, we had a wonderful time there. As we go down to the car park, this lady, this wife, is coming out the back of this minibus. Not our minibus, but another one. And all her hair was everywhere. It looked like she'd been asleep in the back of this minibus, and she come out and she was staggering around, and she was like, and he was like, "Oh, sorry, I gotta leave you there." He said, "I gotta look after my wife," and he took his wife away. So anyway, we went on our merry way. We got back to the hotel. We'd been out in the fresh air. We'd been in the van, in this minibus, back to our hotel. So we're all like, some of us, not all of us, but some of us are like, "Oh my goodness me, we've been on the wine all afternoon and it's like hitting us." So we go and we check in, we get our keys for the hotel. We go upstairs, and Martyn kind of grabs hold of me. I remember he grabbed hold of me on my t-shirt, like not to let go of him. And he said, "You're going to have to help me to my room." So I stuck my arm around Martyn Cornell. I think we were up on the second floor or something. And I staggered him to his hotel bedroom. And it must have took us 5 minutes to get the keys. We're dropping them. And anyway, we got the key. God knows what the other guests were thinking. I finally got the keys, got the key in the door, opened the door. And I laid Martyn down on the bed. And I said, "Martyn, we got to go for dinner in 2 hours. I'll see you downstairs, have a bit of a rest." What happened next was bizarre, because as I shut the door, the exact same thing happened to me. I'd lost all my bearings. I managed to get Martyn to his room, but then I couldn't get myself to my room. I think I spent about 20 minutes walking up and down the corridor. I must have been bumping up against people's doors, and Anyway, I got into the hotel room, and I remember just laying on the bed, star-shaped on the bed. And then the next thing you know, the phone was ringing. So I answered the phone. Simon, where are you? It's dinner time. So I must have been passed out for 2 hours. I must have been completely passed out for 2 hours. Went downstairs. Martyn's joyous. Martyn Cornell. Everybody's Pete Brown. I'm white as a sheet. I'm absolutely white as a sheet. And it just... I drank about 3 gallons of water that night. And I actually spent the whole evening talking with Martyn, and then later on into the evening, me and Pete Brown stayed up, and we chatted for a few hours after that. But that was just one of the wonderful things that we did as beer writers. And my point here is, there is a point to all of this, is that we've lost one of them now. And he was so knowledgeable. He was such a knowledgeable man. Really, really knowledgeable. The history of beer, the Great London Beer Flood. He actually wrote a fantastic article about me in his Zito file, the blog that he run, Martyn Cornell. And it's something, I think I was something about me in Poland, because we were in Poland together. We did all of this in Poland as well, drinking at beer festivals all day. And this is what you've got to remember. We're all very professional people. We try to be anyway. We all go about our own business. But I'll go back to that one point. It might be a year. I haven't seen Johnny Garrett in 2 years. I haven't seen Pete Brown for probably 2 years. I haven't seen Martyn Cornell for 3 years. But whenever we all get together, and whenever we all enter a room together, it's a friendship, and it's a mutual kind of understanding of what we all do. And we all love each other, really. We really do. The beer community is such a fantastic thing, and it's great that it's one of the reasons why I do this. It's one of the reasons why I stand here and do these videos. Is for the meetups. It's for the great times we all have together. Please have a look at Martyn Cornell's work. There's a lot of books that he's written. It's Martyn with a Y, not an I. I'm sure you know him, but if you haven't had the pleasure of reading one of his books, please do. He has a book out shortly on porters and stouts. I will be buying it. Thank you very much, Martyn Cornell, for all of the wonderful times that we had together. And that was a quick celebration of your life. Put your comments in the comments box. Please subscribe to our daily beer and food reviews. Give us a big fat thumbs up. Boom. Cheers.